YouTube or anywhere I can be
It's going live
at
right now. I'm gonna get you the link right now.
Yeah, that way I can see if there's questions. I mean, I feel like a lot of times just opening up
People will probably ask wild questions. Oh, video unavailable. Oh wait, why did it do that? That's really weird.
And will Colin just be able to join, or will someone have
to? No, he'll be able to join. This has never happened. YouTube is tripping out.
Dude, I had no idea they're in Tahiti, man. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, they just flew there maybe a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. So it's pretty new. That's why it's super early for them. Some of these calls are like it's.
Yeah, I had no idea. I should have known. I would have I'm over here talking to him and stuff. And I'm like, damn.
Let me sorry to do this, but let me try to. Since we've started, I don't think I can restream. So I need to go out and go back in. So maybe this also gives Colin time to.
He said he just joined.
He said he just joined. I don't. Let me see.
Yeah. It's the wrong. Let's sent the wrong link. Let me see. She might come from the wrong link. You don't see him?
I don't see him, but that doesn't mean that it. Oh, I do see him, but let me admit him and then let me go back and see if I can. Oh, it says we're live on YouTube. Let me see.
Oh, yeah, it says recording.
Do you see?
Conlon.
Hey.
Hey, man.
Conlon, right on time, buddy.
I know, sorry about that.
You're all good. Welcome.
Back to back. What's going on?
Oh, hey, nice. Wait.
Here we all are. Sweet. So let me actually just go to YouTube really quickly and make sure that it's streaming because it said there was an error. So
okay.
Yeah, it's
back to back. Oh, it looks like we're
on.
Okay.
Well, welcome everyone. To day 5, we are joined by Nate, Micah, and Conlon to talk about programmable art for the ASYNC panel. If you'd like to get in touch with these gentlemen and continue the conversation, Micah can be reached at Micah_Johnson3. Nate can be reached at NoShot1. It's 0 instead of an O for no. And Conlon is just at Conlan, CONLAN. Take it away.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for having us. I'm excited to be here. I'm definitely going to be checking YouTube a lot to see if there's any comments or questions along the way, just so you all know. But I guess we can all just introduce ourselves. And Micah, maybe you go first since you are the artist here.
Yeah, Mike Johnson, the artist, not the brains behind the operation by any means. But yeah, I'm just the artist and created a work on ASYNC recently, and just happy to talk about it. I think it's kind of like the future of where this art world is going. So I'm excited to be on here with these guys.
Yeah, and did you want to? I think it'd be awesome too if you just went into a little bit about yourself and like your background.
For sure.
For anyone who's not, I think a lot of people know you, but I think it'd be good for people.
For sure. For me, I was always a baseball player, played baseball my whole life, played professionally for 7 years, retired in 2018, got into art, and just kind of just evolving, got into crypto like everybody else gets into crypto, just what's XRP, and then next thing you know, you get down a rabbit hole and been creating art with art angels in LA, Miami. My physical works, mainly painting, but with this work with ASYNC, dove into photography. Really wanted to capture this message, which is based around astronauts. Astronauts kind of my symbol to represent an unattainable dream that people are astronauts. So I just want to encourage kids to dream as high as possible because everything is obtainable if they work hard at it. And so that's kind of like a backstory about me. Nothing too exciting. Just a guy trying to make.
What did get you into crypto? We all have. But do you remember what's like sparked it? I'm curious. I'm always curious.
Legitimately XRP. I was like, oh, I don't know. I was just, people talking about crypto and the Bitcoin halving coming up and everyone's gonna be rich. So then I saw XRP was like I don't know, I think it was like 16 cents or something. It's like, oh, I could buy this, and then started diving into crypto art and, diving into all that, super rare, and seeing all that stuff. And I thought it was fascinating. I just saw really like even that was about in February, March, and to see where the space is now, it's like a month in crypto is like 5 years in the real world. So like,
yeah, you seem like an OG crypto artist in my mind from back in the day, but it's still like only been since February, which has been wild.
Yeah, I remember I jumped into the space and I was putting stuff out, and then I just dropped off because I was able to see the space and see where it was going, and I wanted to make sure my work reflected the forward progress others were making. So I said, okay, my work, I need to focus on what I really want to do and to help move the space forward, because I saw how strong the community is. So I said, I'm gonna take a break here, really focus on my next piece, and that was this async work, where I was like, okay, what can I do to tie my physical work with this and kind of like leverage the success I'm having in the physical world to help really drive the space to that mainstream. That's kind of like my focus. I think it's such a powerful community, but also like the tech behind it all makes plenty of sense. So I was like, I'm just trying to be that person that can help just move the space forward, leverage kind of my relationships I have from baseball and all that to really put eyes on it.
Cool. Yeah. All right, cool. We can go into more. Colin, did you want to? So Colin and I both work at ASYNC. Colin's the founder and CEO. So you had the original insight with ASYNC as a whole, and maybe just like a high level, like what is different about ASYNC platform, et cetera, and just who you are and your background too.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm Colin. My background is in mobile and game development. So I come at all this from a game developer point of view. And yeah, I guess, also a big digital art collector. I like to shy away from physical possessions for a lot of reasons, but yeah, digital art just makes sense, right? You can own as much of it as you want. You don't need space to show it. When you move, you don't have to worry about it breaking or losing it. And it's legit because like I bought physical art before, and like I bought it from like some random person who kind of scammed me at a flea market before. So yeah, it's awesome. And as a game developer, I wanted to create some of my own crypto art. And the original concept was like, well, what if you could basically reach inside a painting and own parts of the painting? And once you own it, what if you could control it and change it? But then knowing all these awesome artists in the space that I was collecting from, I thought, okay, let's step back and maybe build a platform for them to build on, because they're all a lot better at it than I will be. So.
Nice. Yeah. And I was when you brought up like, yeah, how do you see like that balance of the traditional kind of art, and then you said you were coming at it from a game designer perspective, like how do you see those interplaying of like fine art or traditional art?
Basically from the player's point of view. So like you look at art and you see a great piece, and as a player, you're always asking, well, how do I play? And even when you see a great painting, you still want to be like, hey, I want to play, give me something to play with. Even if the artist is giving me the controller and they're giving me view, as a player, I always want to participate. So that's where ASYNC art is one of the things that it.
Yeah, sorry, it's froze for a second. Yeah, and I think like that play and ability to play kind of like links back to your point, Micah, about like you wanted to, if you're going to get involved in NFT space, it kind of had to make sense to you. And I think that's one thing, that's the reason why I'm, joined ASYNC as well, is to me, like being able to interact with the artwork in a way that's like solely the person who owns a piece of it can do that. Like it shows very, very clearly like what you get as an owner as a part of this piece. And like cryptocurrency and cryptography, like what they give you is a very secure way to prove ownership. And it works. Obviously, the first step is to own a piece of digital art, but this extra layer of some changeability to it, some programmability, which ASYNC offers, which artists can take a hold of, and then giving that to the owners really like showcases why you may want to be an owner in a piece. And it's almost like an analogy of like, if I bought a physical piece, I can, you know, hang it up or do things with it. You can't change the piece, but you can hang it up or decide where it goes. And in the digital realm, if you buy a piece, someone can still put it wherever they want. There's no physical location of it. But what you can do is play with it in the sense of like how the piece looks. And I think there's like that real ownership analogy there too. So I like that.
Yeah, one thing I can add on that interactivity part too is I think it also allows the viewer to build a deeper connection with the artist. You go from passive viewer to someone who's actually interacting with the piece, and then you get, you know, you're connecting, you're expressing yourself within the art. So it's not when so I guess I should add one thing that when I say play and interaction, it's also just a way to connect as well.
Yeah, yeah, I think Micah, you resonated with that. When you came to us and you were like, I want to make a piece, I think the things that excited you was a long time horizon with the piece, that it can change, and the interactivity of the owners or the message that you wanted to send with it. So I don't know if you wanted to like talk about that a little bit with this piece, and I can bring it up while you talk about it so that we have some sort of context.
Yeah, that was definitely important to me, was the fact that I like the idea of bundling the layer with the master to really show that true ownership. Instead of having a bunch of different layers, I wanted to have that just one layer to really showcase true ownership, right? So like that, the state of the astronaut is what people can control. And that is a very important piece of the work. Like it's almost like the center subject, because it's that symbol for dreams, and they can reveal and alter that image. That's what it kind of really was like my driving like motivator, was to provide that true ownership. So if I go talk to some of my people and like who don't know anything about crypto art or digital art, I can easily explain to them, this is why you're the owner of this work. Like, and like, you know, how do I prove ownership? Well, because you can control this in real time across the world, right? That proves true ownership, in my opinion. And not that any other the other forms or ways of the art doesn't prove ownership, but it's just a very digestible way to showcase digital ownership.
A very like understandable way to show the ownership. Like to your point, like I think a lot of us that are deep in crypto understand, if you look behind the scenes and you look at a token and you understand it all, just owning a token that is just a static token, like is true ownership in my mind, and is going to be like a standard going forward that people will get more and more. But a lot of people don't take that time to kind of delve under and understand that, and they don't want to. And I don't think we should expect it. So I've always had this idea that people will understand digital assets and art and items and what it means to own them more and more as we create experiences that by using the product, you start to see the power of the ownership just from the use of it. You don't need to read up or read how blockchain works, which I find interesting, but not everyone does.
Yeah, right. Like it's blockchain, like learning blockchain and like crypto, it's like months and months of like just jumping from side to side and stuff, right? Like even talking to my PR team and different media outlets about this work, it was such a digestible way to introduce them to the importance of the blockchain, right? Okay, they own it, they can alter the image in real time on Apple TV or your screen, right? So like, okay, you got it, you know, I see the use case. But like you start talking about tokens, like people think about like Chuck E. Cheese tokens and stuff, you know, like it's not as digestible right away. And like you said, it's in the future, it will be a thing where you're not going to buy a pair of Yeezys or something without it being authenticated on the blockchain. That's for sure inevitable and must happen. You're not going to buy a trading card or a Pokemon card that's not authenticated on the blockchain. Like that's just going to be silly, right? But for the time being, this is what we had to do to get it out there.
Yeah, I think it'll just be almost like a standard. Like, of course, I need to be sure that this is part of this set, and there'll be probably visual interfaces and ways to like check that get easier and easier, to the point where maybe people don't even realize it's the blockchain running it. Like,
bingo,
you don't need to know that, but like there's going to be ways to like, when I see a token, I know that is what it is, and there's no way to change that. And once people get that more, I think it'll become more important. But to your point, when you're selling this idea to people, what you can say is not this cryptographic like ceiling of this and that. You say like, look, it's a piece of art that that has one true source of what it is, and when people change that, all the world sees that, and you couldn't do that before without crypto. Also, it's a piece that changes over the course of 10 years, which is pretty cool, and allows an inflow of donations to the two boys. So there's the 10-year span, and so I couldn't pull up the image. So real quick, I'm just going to describe it, and then maybe if you wanted to talk about like the 10-year kind of like arc of this, and then the donation aspect, I think is super cool. But it's basically it's, first of all, I don't know if you've done other photographic work, super powerful photography, and it's like it's a field with a door separating two kids with an astronaut. And over time, this door changes, and there's some other kind of Easter eggs in it. But just imagine that scene, and then yeah, I don't know if you wanted to talk about like kind of the things you've woven into it through, I guess, through ASYNC and what it allowed you to do.
Well, one key element of it is photography. If you go on my Instagram page or Twitter or anything like that, you're going to see physical paintings. And the reason why I did this in photography with no experience was because I wanted to show a proper use case for a digital art form that in the physical world like exists already, right? That is palatable for people to understand. Okay, that's a photograph. Okay, cool. No wonder it's digital, right? It's digital, of course, right? My physical paintings, if I did this in a painting and I took a picture of it and put it on the blockchain, it might not resonate with people the same. They'd be like, okay, like you took a picture of a painting, like where's the painting? I want to hang the painting, right? But with the photographies, I had to like kind of like humble myself and say, okay, I need to do this photography to prove that use case for other photographers in the future, right? Because there's that big discrepancy in price point when you start looking at the highest photography price ever sold versus the highest painting ever sold, right? Talking hundreds of millions of dollars separating that because you can't authenticate, or you haven't been able to in the past authenticate a photograph. So that was like the key important part of why it's a photograph.
Right. What is the true source of a photograph? Is it
right?
Is it the film, the raw film? Is it the first print? It's hard to tell, especially if it's digital only. Like, I think that was a great point you brought up before I saw, which is photography is one of those kind of in between art forms that, you have your traditional painting, you have new age 3D artists and modelers, et cetera. But you do have this digital photography kind of blend where it's the old world meets the new. And I hadn't thought about that, where photography is a great middle ground, where it's something you can express as an artist that is inherently digital, and it's been hard to figure out how to sell that in the past. So
right. So yeah, and with this work, I was able to also, secondly, prove ownership, but also with that contribution of Bitcoin. And people say, why can't I donate USD or fiat currencies? Because, well, historically, the financial system has been prejudiced against that Black community, right? It's well documented, okay? But Bitcoin is that asset that there's no restrictions, right? There's no stereotype. It's people from all the world buying and selling and transacting with this Bitcoin, right? So for me, it proves that like kind of freedom for these kids when they turn 18, the gains on it or whatever Bitcoin is at, they're free to do whatever they want with that. There's nobody controlling that. They don't have to go to a bank and say, I got this much in my account, I need a loan for this, and you know what I mean? And get higher interest rate because they're Black. No, like Bitcoin is that universal asset that people can gain wealth. I'm just trying to kind of show that to the Black community on a larger scale. They're like, what's out there, right? There's alternative solutions, which I think is also an incredibly important part of this work. A lot of this work is about showcasing the capabilities of blockchain as much as it is about helping these boys and the messaging behind it. A lot of it has to do with showcasing what ASYNC is capable of doing, what the blockchain is capable of doing, what Bitcoin is capable of doing, what these photographers, content creators, videographers, what all they can do with blockchain, right? It's basically a showcase, right? Not just a conduit to kind of just boom, and I'm doing all I can. I know ASYNC is my PR team to like get it out there, not for like my personal recognition by any means, but just because I know the importance of, like, that it could have. Maybe a photographer's like, I don't know how to make money on this, like, boom, blockchain, right? So that's kind of like, there's a lot of layers to it.
Layers, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're right. No, yeah, that's what I think people, at first when they hear about Bitcoin, they just think, well, it's like, I don't think the true like power of it is apparent right away. And what you're touching upon is like, Bitcoin has like no prejudice or like bias in any way. And it just is a free flowing like money of the internet. And so it seems so simple to be able to send money to someone, and we do it with apps all the time. But what people don't realize is that they all require so much back end and so many hoops. And there's a lot of power behind the fact that you can literally generate a unique deposit box or QR code that shows up on a piece of art, and someone can directly, without any money getting siphoned off along the way, basically take a dollar bill and like, give it to you through the internet, like with no middleman. And it just goes into that account and no one can take it away from you. No one can do anything with that. Like, that's super powerful. And it seems very simple at first, but when you use it like this, I think this is another example of using the technology in a simple way to show the power of it versus trying to explain how Bitcoin works on the hood. No, what's powerful is I can, without using some sort of app or donation service or all this stuff, I can literally put a QR code that I just generated to create an account for these two kids that people will be able to donate to over the course of 10 years. And we'll all be able to see the funds go in there. Everyone can see when it moves, and you can then, you solely will be able to pull it out and give it straight to the children at the 10-year mark. And like, that's, I mean, the only equivalent would be if like we all like drove to your house and like handed you some cash. And like, you could do that. It's possible, but it's like, there's nowhere as easy as this. And it can be kind of anonymous too. People can
and even that cash example, even then you don't have control over the supply. That supply is determined by people, way richer than you and way more powerful than you. At least Bitcoin, there's a community that would, that the consensus. So
and that transparency part was very important too, because like, if I was to accept that cash, I would have to have someone here every day counting it and like posting it, like how much is in there. Like, I'm not like misappropriating these funds, right? With this wallet, you can see how much exactly is in there, if it moves, when it moves, right? Like,
exactly.
Try to be transparent, and that's why I wanted to do that, because, like I said, 100% of the contributions are going to the board. There's not like some fee, not like that 2.9% fee and transaction, none of that. Like, it's literally all earnings and contributions.
That's awesome.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you could probably, since it's digital inherent, like you probably, I mean, Colin, you could answer better than me, but you could probably even program so that, maybe not on Bitcoin, I don't know, but so that account that people donate to is locked to, no funds could move for it for 10 years, like, and that could be visible to everyone too. You could probably even do that,
like a time lock.
Yeah. Can you do that on Bitcoin?
No, I know you can do it for sure on Ethereum. I'm sure. I think Bitcoin has that capability, like a time locked wallet. Or
yeah, probably. Cool. Okay, so I wanted to talk about we've talked like a few times about like the programmability and everything, and I thought maybe for some of the viewers, they may have heard this a few times too, but like just really high level, what is what separates asyncs, like what is master and layer? We're throwing those out colloquially and stuff, and like what are those, and how we talk to them, and what they allow you to do. And maybe Colin, if you wanted to just high level what they are.
On the capabilities that we provide?
Just what masters and layers are and how they kind of come together, just high level.
Yeah, so for people who are new to it, like you can see the background image here. To tokenized art is, where you take an image and you tokenize it on the blockchain, and basically you make a digital token, and that digital token has all the metadata associated with that image, including the title, the description, the artist name, and the hash. And the token is minted from an artist's address, and it's up to the artist to publicize what address they're minting artwork under. And so that's how you verify the tokenized art. And that's how it's done today, currently. And what ASYNC does is it takes it a step further, and it says, hey, rather than tokenize the entire image by itself, you can now tokenize your image into layers, tokenize each layer separately. So in the image behind me, for example, you would have the backdrop, the wallpaper be a token, you'd have each character be a token, and then you'd have the table be a token. And so now you have this model of distributed ownership where someone owns the background, someone owns the table, someone owns the character, and you have a community of collectors who now own this piece. And then we take it a step further where the artist can now endow each layer with abilities. So the artist can say, hey, if you own this layer, you can control which state it's in, an alternative or a variant state, or you can control the color or the position. And so for Mika's piece, he's given control over the astronaut in his work. So now someone can own the astronaut and change the state of removing the helmet or not.
Yeah, and so, I think what we've done is taken like tokenizing a piece of art and then just taken the next logical step within like what's possible with programmability and digital media is that it doesn't have to be static, right? And we see GIFs, we see videos, we see audio now being tokenized. And that's one way to think about it, but that's still the top level. And so what we've done is gone one level deeper and tokenized the building blocks that make up a piece. Every piece of art has building blocks to it, especially in the digital realm. When you work on anything in Photoshop, in video, in audio, there are layers, there are tracks, there are pieces that add up to the whole. And being able to tokenize that and also providing alternate states for those pieces just brings this whole world of like opportunity to an artist or a creator to be more creative. And that's the main fundamental like part of ASYNC that makes it tick, which is this layer, multiple layers adding up to a master and then owning each of those. But beyond that, because we are the platform that allows artwork that is changeable within a set of bounds, there's also time as well imbued in these. So Micah's piece like uses time as well as a factor of why it changes and how. Yeah, you got it up there now.
Yeah,
there it is.
So this is the door that will open a little bit more each year.
Mm-hmm. So this door opens a little more every year, and Micah, you could probably explain all the analogies behind it. But it's the kids always seeing their dreams come to life.
So the astronaut obviously is a symbol for any dream. Astronaut, you see it's a reoccurring theme in a lot of my works. And the basis of that is a couple months ago, earlier this year, my 4-year-old nephew asked if astronauts could be black. So I said, okay, bam. Like that's what I wanted to show is that there's no limitations to your dreams. And that's kind of what the astronaut, that's kind of how I came up with the astronaut. And then the two boys on the other side of the door, I wanted them to kind of feel like, well, even Reagan, the young one, said, I'm not smart enough to be an astronaut one of the first times I met him, right? So these boys feeling like there's limitations to their dreams is kind of wild to me. So right now that door is blocking them from the astronaut, almost like there's that limitation there. And as they get older and as the contributions start piling up and the earnings start piling up and they're getting older and almost to that point where they're grown adults with choices, the door's fully open, revealing the astronaut and they're coming face to face with the astronaut. And that's a symbol of like, okay, now Koi is 18 years old or Raiden's 18 years old. Now they have choices and options and opportunity. A lot of things that a lot of young kids in the Black community do not have is fallback plans or choices to make. It's either, this is the route I have to go. I got to do this. I got to, so there's not that many, there's not that many choices for them. So through the help of everybody that's going to be involved with this work, contributing on a yearly basis, you're going to give these kids a chance that they probably never would have had before, where they have a choice to make. And that's really powerful. And then when Quay, the oldest brother who's in the front, turns 18 years old, he disappeared from the image, almost like he became his dream. Like, okay, I'm here now. I'm chasing my dreams. Like, he became the astronaut. And Raiden, who is almost a year or 2 years younger than him, when he turns 18, then he disappeared. Like, he became his dream. So he's chasing his dreams. So that all that will remain is that open door and the astronaut there. And it's a very powerful image at the end, because it's like, okay, these boys are chasing their dreams. You guys, mission is complete. You know.
That's what makes it super powerful, is this long arc of a story that's part of it. It's like a very, very slow moving like movie or story that takes time to play out, and it makes a piece even richer for it. I mean, it takes patience to watch it, and it's going to be all the sweeter when you get there in tenure. Of course, we could like make that, like, this is like, we could make that image right now. We could take your layers and cut it up and make it so that the boys are gone, but it wouldn't be as powerful. Like, part of life is going through time and dealing with ups and downs, and like I said, it's all the richer in the end because of it. And imbued in this piece is time, and this time of them growing and stuff. And the other interesting thing I thought when you're talking is, like, it is sad that he already feels like, I'm not smart enough, etc. And it makes you wonder what kind of like just inherent like walls we put up on ourselves from society so young. And it's sad because what usually happens is the opposite of what I see here, which is when you're young, you feel like anything's achievable. And as you get older, we tell ourselves we can't do X, Y, and Z. And so if a child set up from the beginning to feel like there's these walls, how much worse is it when you're an adult and things get harder and harder to reach for? So all the more reason to be encouraging them now, and why I think this piece is pretty powerful.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, when they first showed up on location, like, they were going through a really tough time at that moment in their lives. And when they showed up, it was like, they were so happy, man. Just so, that was the coolest thing ever. And we took some photos, sent them some photos of the on the day, some like ancillary photos, and just to show them in this, like, you can see that their wheels are starting to turn now. Now they're like, okay, I want to paint. Like, they see my paintings. I've done a painting of them before. Now they want to paint. Now they're FaceTiming me with like the paintings they're doing, or like sending me photos of the canvas they're making. Like, it's like, now they see, okay, I can paint. Now that's an option. That's an extra option I didn't know I had. Maybe they never would have known they like painting or are good at painting, you know? So it's just creating those like little helpful things all along the way to show them that there's this out there, you know what I mean? Who knows what they'll be, you know? Like, but
yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, that is how you don't tell someone or kids like, you can do this, and then they believe you. It's all about what you're doing right now. Like, you're succeeding in being an artist and creator, and that inspires, like, inspiration comes from someone passively watching you succeed in it, not from you telling them X, Y, and Z. They see you, and they're inspired and encouraged to do it themselves. When you see something's attainable, you get motivated. If you don't think it's attainable, or if society tells you it's not, you're especially, you can be harder on yourself already. And if society, or you don't see it, or you don't see, a father or mother or a figure you're looking up to succeeding in any of these things around you when you're growing up, you just assume that's not for you either. And it takes some someone coming into your life close to you to kind of show you that there's possibilities outside of what society may tell you, et cetera. So I think you're doing exactly what they need by just being there and doing you.
right. Yeah, letting me see that, man, and just being encouraging too, telling me how good they're doing and stuff. Just encouraging.
Yeah. I saw Right Hand Red ask a question about just like what ASYNC can kind of do, and I think they're kind of spot on, but maybe we can just expand on it a little bit. But they're saying, so it's like choose your own adventure books, but with art, where the art pieces and layers are predefined, just the users choose its path, basically. And that's pretty right. I mean, typically, if you think about a choose your own adventure or something like that, you think of where we've gone with video games. And I think Colin touched on that. That was the inspiration. But why can't an artist basically, video games are art, first of all, but it needs a lot of people behind them. There's these big, stories, and it requires a lot of people buying them, etc. Piece of art is about like putting out a message and creating something that you hope inspires people, that you feel good making, or whatever art is to you. But why can't a piece of art imbued in it, now that we live in a digital age, why can't that have a set of rules as part of it that the artist basically painted, that says, people who own parts of this can do X, Y, and Z. And yes, there are rules within this land that the artist created. Otherwise, if it's too open, it could be more open, but the idea is the artist creates a canvas, creates a sandbox for the owners to play within their bounds. And by doing so, it creates a living piece of art that everyone can see. And the other powerful part to this is anyone looking in on this piece sees the current state. It's only one state. So if I'm playing a game in my living room and Colin's playing the same game in his living room, we're having different experiences. But what's happening here is there's one place that everyone's looking to. And if you're a player or an owner of this piece, you get to influence it, but everybody sees that. And that just has a lot of implications of what you could do with it as an artist or creator, etc. I don't know if you have anything to add, Conlon, about this choose your own adventure kind of analogy.
Yeah, one thing that we've talked about is like the most powerful art for viewers is art that they can see themselves in it, right? When we make a connection with the piece. And so by allowing the viewer to come in and to actually, they're the ones moving, changing the thing that the artist has provided, that's allowing them to connect and really connect deeper with the piece. So in a way that never was possible really in really human history. Like, okay, you had physical art installations where an artist might create something and you can go in there and tinker with it. But now with digital art, this is something that now people can be doing the same thing across time and space. You could have a collector in Tokyo changing something, and you could be in Brazil and you're changing something, and you're changing at different times of the day, maybe across years even. Like that's just something that just hasn't been possible before. And so, yeah, let's see what direction creators can take this new tool in.
Yeah, it's a tool. Like Micah, you work with paint and physical things that we all know how they work and what you can do with them. And it's about how people take these structures and twist and bend them to do beautiful things, right? And like you're alluding to, Colin, like if a digital artist makes something that you see in a museum nowadays, sometimes they're interactive or they do this and that. And an artist usually has to build, a one-off experience for that. And what we're trying to do is create a standard, almost like what is the paint or what is the canvas for the digital medium. If you want to make something that's programmable or that changes, what's the standard there that we can all use and bend as artists and creators? Like, there is none. And I think that that's going to be important. If someone wants to come in, like Micah, you have an idea, you're not a developer, but you have abstract ideas on what, the time-based parts of it, what message you want to get across. And I think you mentioned the reason you decided to mint on async is because you wanted to use the digital medium in a way that felt natural, and you wanted to get across certain things that you couldn't do if you minted just like the photograph on its own. And I think that's when I hear those things, that's where I get excited. When I see artists like getting excited about new messages that they can make by using this new medium. You couldn't make a 10-year message on a piece before unless you made a website and then manually updated it or had some one-off way of doing it. And I just think it's more powerful when people buy something and realize that it'll just run, and it's using a standard that artists are starting to use, as NFTs as a whole are right now.
Like, what happens to art when you can now paint with interactivity and time? Those are now options, right? And so, yeah, these are, the most exciting thing will happen when we let many people try this platform. And so this is a great showcase piece for artists to be like, hey, you can start thinking about your art in terms of time and interactivity, just as you would with composition, lighting, anatomy. Those are other subjects you consider, like time and interaction are now equal subjects to consider as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we say sometimes like, well, you know, you can paint with time or you can paint with interactivity, but painting with time has a better ring to it.
That sounds better.
Paintbrush that lets you paint in time. I mean, all art has some time, right? I mean, really famous pieces of works have degraded over time. They have, you know, elements to them that have clearly aged, and that adds parts of it, parts of like what makes it look like what it is. But to literally have a piece that could exist and be changing beyond an artist's death, or as long as the blockchain is going, like those are really powerful levers to pull on, I feel like. And Micah, maybe I'd be interested selfishly, because it'd be good for us to know too, but like, or speaking to other artists, you know, one, you're a traditional artist by trade, mostly, usually, right? You work in physical pieces. And so one, you went into photography here, and two, you came to us, which we're pretty like techie, cutting edge in some ways. And I think some people get intimidated by, well, like, it's changing, I don't know how to code, I don't. What is your experience like? You had an idea, and from start to finish, you know, like how it was to make this piece from your end, and like your experience there. It'd be good for us to know, but then also as like for others to hear, I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it was a lot easier than I thought it was ever going to be. Right? It was very intimidating because like you think you got to go through all these hoops and bounds, but like you guys are an amazing team. Where it's like oh, like I clicked a button and how it's minted, like that was it. Like, and you know, I think for physical artists, I think the first step is to see what else is out there. Okay, how are people creating? Like, what is the use case here? Like, how can I just to see what other people are doing? That's step number one. Like, to realize the capabilities. Step number two is come up with an idea of the most far-fetched idea you can possibly imagine, right? And then you'll start dialing it down. Okay, this is possible now. This is possible now, right? Mm-hmm. Like, just dream so far out there, and then for me in this work particularly, it was I can't express enough like how simple it was. And you know, a lot of times you're doing something and you have this good idea and it doesn't really work out that well, right? There's always a bunch of hiccups. Like, from start to finish, it was the most fluid process, period. And I don't know why it happened to be like that. It was like divine intervention or whatever it is, but it worked out. So this piece was like, okay, I had a concept, approached you guys, and I said, okay, this is what I want to do. What can we do? And it was like, okay, you can do this, this, and this. This is all no problem. Okay. And then from there, okay, I'm going to go get it shot. You know, I'm going to go do what I have to do on my side as the creative, knowing the parameters that I have to work within. And it was that simple. Like that, it was that simple.
Yeah, knowing your parameters helps, right? Because if you don't know if it's possible or not, like, and infinity is open to you, it can kind of cripple your creativity because it's too open. That's a good point. Like, coming with the idea first and then seeing what elements or what levers to pull on, and then that helped. I remember you came with the original ideas, and then we refined it down. And what I always appreciate through the process is, like, this piece showcases, like we said from the beginning, like, why use a tokenized piece of art for this? Because one, it's photography, it's digital, and two, there's a story and a message that you created that only works here. And more pieces like this where they can only tell their full message in this medium, I think is really special. And like I love when we can work on pieces with artists like that.
Yeah, it was incredibly special, man. And yeah, it was amazing.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. I don't know if I think we're gonna, as we come up close to the end of the hour, I don't know if there's any other questions, or Colin or Micah, you had any other, let's see if it's mostly that.
Yeah, I've been looking over the questions here. It seems that you guys have addressed like the main ones. People have ideas for You're reading them, Nate, so you can see people have ideas for collabs with ASYNC naturally. Like everybody wants to collab with ASYNC. So
well, collab is like, I mean, it's a good. That's another thing. We talked a little before we went live about how this whole genre of art was born out of this digital social media like landscape where people can easily work together, come together, no matter where they are in physical space. It wasn't possible before. And built into async is the idea of this. I think collaboration, our first piece, involved multiple artists. And when we talk a lot about when, all of the NFT platforms right now for art, secondary sales and how sales get routed to artists automatically. I think it's a huge breakthrough. But on top of that, there's also this layer of defining who worked on a piece and splitting those proceeds to artists automatically too, all programmatically, so that there's no question, there's no, so I mean, collaborations is like that's close to our heart, is letting multiple people come together with their ideas. I think that's going to be a big thing in this art movement we're seeing right now, is how collaborations bring multiple ideas together and how they meld art in a way we haven't seen before. If you think of traditional art and old famous paintings, etc., you don't see a lot of them that had to do with two artists collaborating. And I think that that's going to be a signature mark of a lot of what we see coming out of this time right now.
Yes.
Like this
a signature sort of like mark of the crypto art era in the history books. I love that. And just before we let you guys go, one question that I have for you is, can you drop on us, tell us about the Halloween party on the 31st in the contest, give a little shout out for that. And then 2, tell us what's coming up for ASYNC. Give us some like behind the scenes, secret info, drop it here. It's just like, shh, I'm only talking to you and like the 3 people watching right now.
And then we can leave the end of this afterwards for the replay, so only these people will get the insights.
It's like for those dedicated people who held on to the very end, those diehard ASYNC aficionados, this is something you guys can look forward to from ASYNC, dropping it right here at Crypto Art Week. Can you give us, other than your Halloween party, which you've talked about on Twitter, can you give us some ASYNC behind the scenes special like info? Yeah.
The Halloween
Lab.
contest, go ahead, Colin. I think you should talk to this stuff, because I'll say more than I should, and I think you should decide what to say. Oh, the internet didn't let him.
Okay, well, we have
he's like actually frozen.
Okay.
Oh, there he is. Okay, great.
Well, speaking of collaborations, there's a pretty big collaboration coming after this in 2 weeks, which is Trevor Jones and A Lot of Money. Trevor Jones's first piece on ASYNC. So
yeah,
tight. Conlon is like super succinct. He's like, you know what? We're about to drop this on Twitter anyway, so let me just tell you what's coming down the pipe. But tight, like I love it. So you guys heard it here first, maybe. There's a Trevor Jones and A Lot of Money piece that's going to drop in 2 weeks on ASYNC. So definitely mark your calendars for that. Micah Johnson, Nate, Conlon, thank you for being our guest today on day 5 of Crypto Art Week. Lots of love to you all. You can follow what's going on here on Twitter with the hashtag Crypto Art Week. Thank you very much. I'm your host, Lady Phoenix, and we'll see you in the next session.
Thanks, Trevor.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.